the dust-choked canyons of the Hindu Kush, gravity is a predator more ruthless than any beast. Here, the magnificent Markhor rules the precipice. But as the sun traces its arc across this unforgiving sky, a shadow is waking, and by dusk, the ultimate test of vertical survival will begin. Before the sun dares to touch the jagged peaks of the Hindu Kush mountains, the world is ruled entirely by the cold and the jum. It is 5 o'clock in the morning. An icy mist clings to the dizzying ravines. Far below the highest ridges, massive Himalayan brown bear lumber through the dim light, retreating slowly to deep caves. Above them, clinging to the cold shale cliffs, the plump Himalayan snowcock gently preens. Suddenly, the silence shatters. Loose rock tumbles into a bottomless ravine. Stepping onto a microscopic ledge, the regal Markhor surveys its perilous kingdom. With spectacular sweeping corkscrew horns, this wild goat stands on the edge of nothingness. Beside the mighty Markhor, the sturdy mountain ibex also rise, preparing for the great ascent. By 8 o'clock, vitality pulses through this harsh, high-altitude biome. A massive golden eagle soars upward on invisible thermals, while highly social Alpine Choughs perform fluid acrobatics around jagged spires. Down on the steep slopes, the iridescent Himalayan monal pheasant flashes against muted earth tones. The loud clucks of the Choughs partridge harmonize with the piercing song of a delicate blue rock thrush. It is a time of immense movement. A massive herd of Markhor begins its astonishing gravity-defying climb up an endlessly sheer rock face. Following invisible pathways carved by generations of hooves, the ibex trails safely behind. Lower down, agile wild urial eagerly graze on the slightly more forgiving scree slopes. But no movement goes unnoticed among these native species. From a concealed vantage point, a Himalayan lynx silently crouches in the alpine scrub. On the ground, a sleek red fox trots down a loose gravel slope, seeking the faint scent of early morning prey. 11:30. The soft daylight flattens. A suffocating stillness grips the canyons. The heat is brutal. The great Markhor herds reach their dizzying pastures. They lay down on impossibly narrow ledges. They pant heavily in the dusty air. The heat drives smaller inhabitants into the shadows. An agile stone marten stretches across a cool rock crevice. A mountain weasel darts between sun-baked boulders. Deep in narrow fissures, the tiny Royals pica furiously chews dry grass. Above, avian scavengers patrol. An enormous lammergeier banks against the wind. A massive Himalayan griffin effortlessly rides rising columns of hot air. They wait patiently. Gravity always claims another victim. But the most terrifying presence cannot be seen. Hidden in the impenetrable blackness of a sheer cave, the elusive snow leopard sleeps. The ultimate apex predator rests in eerie silence, conserving its explosive energy. Here, life is dictated by an ancient circadian rhythm. Yet, this delicate balance hangs by a thread. As global temperatures fluctuate and weather patterns become increasingly extreme, the very fabric of this fragile ecosystem is threatened. These highly specialized creatures walk a razor's edge. If the ancient rhythms are broken, the mountain's fragile pulse may fade forever. By 2:30, the blinding sky softens. Long shadows stretch menacingly across the sheer faces. The temperature drops. The ecosystem awakens from its dusty slumber. The Himalayan snowcocks venture out from behind boulders. The agile urial nervously navigate the lower scree. Above, the resting Markhor herds rise. The descent must begin. Navigating downward is infinitely more dangerous. This vertical descent is the ultimate test of ungulate survival. Sliding precisely down narrow stone chutes, they trust their split hooves to arrest their momentum inches from the abyss. The echoing clatter of young males clashing horns rings through the gorge, a magnificent display. But it provides the perfect acoustic cover. Deep within its lair, the snow leopard finally rises. 5:15. The fading twilight takes on deeply bruised hues. Unpredictable winds violently collide. A massive, suffocating dust storm is born. The howling wind churns brown dirt into a blinding wall. The golden eagles abandon the sky. Tiny pikas dive headfirst into unyielding stone. Reduced visibility levels the playing field. Under the cover of the violent storm, the leopard makes its lethal calculation. With breathtaking power, the phantom predator launches itself into the void. Panic shatters the twilight. The massive Markhor violently scatters, plunging recklessly down the near vertical cliff face. The snow leopard pursuit is relentless. The chase enters the death zone. A solitary alpha Markhor is singled out, forced toward impassable edges. The leopard sprints downward across crumbling shale, tail twitching violently to prevent a fatal slide. Trapped, the alpha Markhor does the impossible. It runs vertically down a sheer rock face, launching its massive body outward into the empty, howling air. With a heavy thud, the wild goat lands on an isolated stone pinnacle. A roosting flock of Alpine Choughs scatters into the dust. Driven by extreme hunger, the leopard fully commits to the gap. It lands precariously short. Claws tear into loose dust on the edge, fighting a losing battle against gravity. Standing absolutely firm on a surface barely wider than a footprint, the alpha Markhor presents an impenetrable wall of spiraled bone. Silently snarling, realizing the mathematical impossibility of the kill, the leopard violently twists its tail to arrest its fatal backward slide. A breathtaking standoff beneath the bruised sky, watched only by distant mountain ibex and the stealthy Himalayan lynx. Accepting defeat, the leopard leaps back across the gap, melting utterly into the impenetrable mountain night. 7 o'clock arrives. The dust storm clears. The victorious alpha Markhor stands in perfect silhouette. Small wall creepers tuck tightly into cracks. The massive Himalayan brown bears close their eyes deep within the earth. In the dizzying canyons, life has once again survived the edge of the abyss. The Markhor has conquered the cliffs tonight, claiming another dawn. But for the ghost of the mountain, hunger remains. To see how this apex predator adapts when forced down into the brutal, frozen valleys to hunt, you must witness what happens next.